Welcome, beautiful Paris Saint Germain family. In today's video, we'll be discussing the Barcola Dembele situation with Luis Enrique. As we know, both Dembele and Bradley Barcola are, furious. They're unhappy with Luis Enrique on two stuff. First of all, how the general team is performing and how Luch is setting up the team, but it's also individual anger towards Luis Enrique, how he's been using them individually. Let's take a look at reports first. New tensions are rising between Bradley Barcola and Luis Enrique. The player is frustrated with Enrique's demands and Barcola's contract extension is now on hold. Tensions are growing heavily between several players and Luis Enrique. New Ousmane Dembele's relationship with Luis Enrique is increasingly tense and strained. Luis Enrique remains extremely fierce about Dembele getting a red card versus Bayern and his attitude. Luis Enrique is now fed up with what he views as actions worthy of an experienced player from Dembele. Meanwhile, Dembele still hasn't understood why he was dropped from the squad against Arsenal. He doesn't understand why he was the only one punished while other players who have been late this season faced no punishment. This perceived double standard has not sat well with Dembele. Privately, in recent months, Dembele has also expressed confusion about Luis Enrique's tactical approach. He feels the team's style of play is overly rigid and predictable. A well-informed source from the locker room says, "I think Luis Enrique has lost Dembele." Furthermore, Randal Colomani not playing at all has raised further questions within the locker room. Luch's game plan are starting to irritate many players. Last year, Kylian didn't really apply the instructions imposed by the coach, so the players had more freedom on the pitch. On the other hand, this season he's uncompromising about what he expects from the players, and this is in each position and several players in the squad feel restricted. For example, he asks very specific things from the offensive player, which leave less room for their freedom. If the instructions are not respected, the players are directly reprimanded within the locker room or during video work. For example, he doesn't want to see the attackers take depth, so we have offensive players who are used against the register. However, several players in the squad believe that the team is much more dangerous when the game plan is not respected and the attackers gain depth and have freedom. The problem, Lucho doesn't want a transition game and absolutely wants a precision game, no matter the opponent. The fact of not seeing the attackers take the depth is also due to this instruction from Lucho precisely. Players, especially the attackers, are showing more and more reluctance towards Luis Enrique's game plan. The team's play is categorized as sterile and predictable by the various members of the squad. The coach was a little too strict with some of his playing ideas, such as not using a number 9. So, now we've gone through every single thing. And basically, a lot of the PSG players, probably all of them, are unhappy about how Luis Enrique is playing. They're calling it predictable. They're calling it sterile. They're saying they don't feel they have any freedom, both on and off the pitch. But so that's what Dembele and Barcola are also complaining about. Let's take a look at their individual situation. The reports obviously mention stuff about the attackers being, they want to have more freedom. They don't want to just hold certain positions. They want to feel they can change the game themselves rather than Luch's tactic changing the game. So let's take a look back at last season. Obviously, last season we had Dembele, Barcola, and Mbappe front line. Mbappe being the focal point with Dembele and Bradley Barcola playing as two wingers, service for Mbappe. Obviously, when they got some opportunities, they went for themselves. But majority of the time, they were looking for Kylian Mbappe because he was the best player and best finisher as well. Forward on to this season, Marco Asensio is the playmaker to Dembele and Barcola. They are our focal points. They went from wingers to forwards. They are not expected to score goals rather than do everything else. And even Marco Asensio is not a goal scorer. So you have pretty much, if I'll ask you, is Asensio playmaker or goal scorer? At best, playmaker. Barcola, playmaker. Potentially could become a goal scorer. Dembele, obviously playmaker. So you have three playmakers in attack. But then Luis Enrique comes out and says, "Oh, we don't have any quality. Why are we not scoring any goals?" Well, because you have no proven goal scorer in attack. Bradley Barcola, as I've said, he can turn into be an elite goal scorer if he continues his development. But at the moment, he's not that guy. And he should not have this pressure on him. Same goes with Ousmane Dembele. It was clear for Paris Saint Germain that we needed someone to replace Kylian Mbappe as that main threat in attack. But Luis Enrique decided not to do so. And he also decided not to buy any backups to put any kind of competition on Ousmane Dembele and Bradley Barcola. Second of all, it's how they're being used, as I said. Last season, they were wingers, now they're forwards. When you look at Barcola and Dembele, their three best attributes is dribbling, playmaking, and progressing the ball. This season, though, they're strictly seen as goal scorers, and in the league, they've not done that bad. 5 goals for Dembele, 10 goals for Bradley Barcola. I believe Bradley Barcola had 4 or 5 in the league last season, so it's already double amount of that. Dembele had 3, if I'm correct. He already has 5. So they have improved their goal scoring. That sense of tactic is working. But in the UCL, obviously, both have 0 goals each. So what we can clearly see is it's not working. Dembele and Bradley Barcola as the main goal scorer is not working. And whose genius idea was this? It was Luis Enrique. Luis Enrique, he made this choice. Obviously, Luis Campos fucking up a lot of deal in the summer did not help. But Luis Enrique went into the season like this. Arrogantly, stubbornly, disgustingly went to the season like this. And the other thing, he's been playing Asensio as the false 9. Asensio may actually be the biggest problem because he's supposed to be someone that is, impactful. In the league, he's still done decent. The main issue is the Champions League. Our false 9 have by far not been our worst. Worst is probably Dembele because of all of the mistakes and everything. But if we strictly look at uselessness or usefulness, the false nine is by far the most useless position Paris Saint Germain have had in their 5 UCL games. They've not been impactful. They've not had the GA. They've not done anything. It's been Asensio. It's been Kangin Lee. But actually, the most frightening striker / false nine we've had in the Champions League this season is Randal Kolomani. Randal Kolomani has more XG and XAG than both Asensio and Kangin Lee combined in much less minutes. What this proves is Kolomani suits this attack way better than these two. But Luis Enrique, once again, he's an incompetent, idiotic manager that has his own way of football that he sees it, which nobody else understands and nobody else sees. If we even take a look at the underlying stats, we can see how Dembele and Barcola haven't themselves transformed their game. It's more that they've been forced to transform their game because of how Luch is setting them up. Dembele, for example, he's taking more shots this season, pretty much same amount of key passes, way more touches in the penalty area, but same amount of shot creating actions on goal creating actions. What this means is that Dembele is playing a more forward position, taking more shots, but he's still as impactful goal scoring wise, playmaking wise as last season. He's not more threatening than last season, even though he's playing in a more threatening position. What this means is Dembele was better last season. He was still as threatening at this season, but he was doing all the other stuff with progressive passes and playmaking and everything. Same thing with Bradley Barcola. His shots have gone down. His key passes are pretty much similar. Touches in penalty area have gone up. Shot creating action, goal creating actions, very similar. So what we can take away from this is that Luis Enrique, what he's doing, he's misusing Bradley Barcola and Ousmane Dembele. Instead of using them as wingers who are supposed to do majority of the work apart from goal scoring, he's forcing them to strictly focus on goal scoring and let the others do the rest of the job. And this is not their main strength. Luis Enrique is misusing our 2 best attackers because he didn't want to sign a number 9. He didn't want to sign an attacker. And then he talks about the quality in Bradley Barcola and Dembele. Like he's furious with Barcola's performances and Dembele's performances. Well, why didn't we sign any backups? We were looking at Lookman. We were looking at Bakayoko from PSV. There were many players we were looking at, but you didn't want to sign any of them because you trusted what we had this season. You didn't want to sign a backup to them. And now you're complaining about their form when you have no backup to put any kind of actual competition. It's absolutely disgusting. I genuinely do not understand how Luis Enrique can look at himself in the mirror and complain about Bradley Barcola and Ousmane Dembele's performances when Luis Enrique has been a huge, major reason for their performances, both in the league and in the UCL. Last season, as I said, it was Dembele and Barcola playmaking for Mbappe. This season, it's Asensio playmaking for Dembele and Barcola. The huge difference from last season to this season is exactly why we are worse than last season. Not replacing Mbappe, not signing a single attacker. We should have signed 3 attackers. I was very happy having Gonçalo as a backup last summer. I wanted the number 9 and I wanted 2 wingers. One backup / competition for Dembouz and one backup / competition for Barcola. And that's what the club also wanted. Before we went into the transfer window and at the beginning of the transfer window, everything pointed that that's what Paris Saint Germain wanted. But we didn't get it. Lucha didn't want it. He was happy with the squad. And now we're stuck in this position where he's complaining about the decisions that he himself made. It's one of the most ridiculous situations that has ever happened at a football club. But yeah, this is basically why Bradley Barcola and Ousmane Dembele are unhappy with Luis Enrique. Are they blaming their bad performances on Luis Enrique? Yes and no. Is that the main reason? No. The main reason is that they know themselves better than anyone. And I think Lucha knows Dembele and Barcola really well, but nobody knows Dembele better than himself, and nobody knows Barcola better than himself. So they know what they're best at and what they're bad at. And they're telling Lucho, like, this is not our main job. You're asking something of us which we've never done before. Both Dembele and Barcola, that's what they're telling to Lucho. And why is Lucho telling them? The arrogant Luis Enrique is telling them, you guys do not understand football. Or he will say, you guys are shit. That's basically it. That's basically it. You guys are shit. That's basically the explanation why Dembele and Barcola are, not happy with their current situation. I put full blame on Luis Enrique. He is the one that masterminded how the season has went, and he deserves every single bit of blame this season. I will continue to defend our Paris Saint Germain players because of the oppression the dictator Luis Enrique has put on them. And I hope that Bradley Barcola and Ousmane Dembele can soon be freed from the Luis Enrique slavery. That's been it from my boy PSG. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you guys agree Or do you guys disagree with how Dembele and Barcola are feeling so far this season? That's been it from boy PH Gent, and as usual, allez, allez, allez Paris.